because we didn't have good exports. 2 years ago, we didn't have anything like that. We were dead. The United States is on track to export unprecedented $2.5 trillion in goods this year alone, something everyone thought was impossible. Just a number like that was not even thinkable. If I ever said it, I wouldn't have even said it, because even I didn't think we could do that well, but we did. And I want to thank all of the policies and all of the things we put it together between the tariffs that have been the tariffs have made us rich. Remember, I used to say that tariffs are my favorite word. I love tariffs. They're my favorite word in the dictionary. Tariff. I love tariffs, right? Because we've been screwed by tariffs used against us for years by China, by Japan, by South Korea, by Germany, by everybody, by Canada. Canada's nasty. They are. They're nasty. People think Canada, they're nasty. I love the people, but they're nasty. Nasty leadership. And Mexico, they all did it to us. But now that doesn't work anymore, because we turned the table on everybody. And that's why you're seeing numbers like you've never seen before. This week, as an example, it was announced that manufacturing is exploding at the fastest pace in many years. Nobody thought this would ever happen again. Do you remember, did you ever hear of a man named Barack Hussein Obama? He said, we will never be a manufacturing country again. And he meant it. He meant it. It was pathetic what had happened. Our businesses were stolen by foreign countries. They're all coming back. They're coming roaring back. More automobile factories are being built in the United States right now than at any time in the history of our country. Think of that. We didn't have a plant built for years, and now we have more plants. They're all coming back from Germany, from South Korea, from Japan, from Canada, and from Mexico, from all over. They're coming back, because if they don't, they have to pay massive tariffs at the gate. I call them tariffs at the gate. But it is true, I was criticized very badly because I said it was my favorite word. They said, what about God? What about wife, family? What about all of the things that make your life so wonderful? So I moved it to my fifth favorite word, and no, the press was... The press was killing me. I'll never forget, I said, tariff's my favorite word. I love it. I got killed. But now I say it's number 5. And I'm in good shape. But it's made us rich. It's made us rich. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. More importantly, in order to not pay the tariff, all these companies are moving in and building their plants. A lot of them being built in Nevada. A lot of them. And that man right there, Mr. Wall, please stand up. Look at him. He's a rich guy. Would you believe? You know what? He's a rich guy because he must have been to 300 rallies, I think more than that. He's loaded. You had him checked out, a little bit shaky there. Say, what's with that guy with the Wall outfit? I'm going to get one of their. I'm going to wear it one day, I'm telling you. And they checked him out. They said, sir, he's a very rich man. He has to be. He goes to so many rallies. And we do love you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And our great front row Joes and our great women from North Carolina, they travel all over the place. They're loaded. They're beautiful. I don't know what the hell's going on with their home life, but they travel. They've gone to hundreds of these. But here in Nevada, we've created over 40,000 new jobs and lifted nearly 100,000 Nevadans off of food stamps. Think of it. And they don't want to be on food stamps because they've got new jobs. They've got jobs. They don't need food stamps. Last month, inflation dropped at the fastest rate it's dropped in many years, and more Americans are working today. So the biggest thing for this whole thing, more Americans are working in the United States right now than at any point in the history of our country. Think of that. Think of it. You don't hear that. I saw polls today on television that say Donald Trump polls on the economy aren't good. The economy is the greatest economy we've ever had by far. The economy aren't good. They're fake polls, just like fake writers. But think of it. And his stance on immigration. Immigration. In 30 days, I stopped millions and millions of people from invading our country. Think of it. Our country was being invaded. 25 million people poured through our southern border, and they came from jails, and they were drug dealers, and they were people from mental institutions. They were mental institutions all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They opened their doors, they brought them into the southern border, and they released them into our country. We're getting them all out. They're all getting out very fast. They're all getting out very fast. But think of it. Nobody ever thought a thing like this could happen. And in the last 15 months, and these are reports, and you've heard me say this before, it's 14, it's 13, it's 12, depending, but now it's 15 months, right? Not one person has been allowed to come into our country illegally. And that's been done by the Democrats who do the reports. I'm sure they're happy with it. Can't have a country without a border. Can't have a country without a border. And you can't have a country without free and fair elections, too. So we want voter ID, and we want proof of citizenship. But we're rocking, we're rolling. This country is great. What's happening to this country is great. And, ultimately, they're not going to be able to stop this because what's happening is too good. But think of that. I got criticized on immigration. When I took over, millions of people were pouring into our country, millions. And they weren't necessarily, I don't want to say it, but they weren't necessarily the people you want, because they did. They came from jails from all over the world. They came from all of these different places. Drug deals, 11,888 murders, 50%, more than 50% of whom created or killed more than two people. So think of this. So you had 11,880. That's the number of murders that came in, according to every statistic. And we checked the charts. 11,888 murderers. Many of these people killed more than one or two people. And do you think they're going to be great citizens or not? They came in totally unchecked, totally unvetted, and our country was a mess. Our country was going down, and now our country is it's strong again, and it's respected. And the stock market has set 74 all-time highs just since our short time that we've been back. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in my first term. You know that. This is going to blow it away. It already is, I think, but this is blowing it away. 74, the highest stock markets in history. Yesterday went up almost 1,000 points, right? And the typical American 401k is up much more than $30,000 and setting records day after day, week after week. And more money is being invested right now in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. Money is pouring into it. They want to invest in the United States. Before, they wanted to de-invest. They want their money out. That's what was happening. People were taking their money out. Now they're all putting it in. They love the safety of this country as run properly by us. And it's not me, it's us, because you're the people that built the country, believe me. In 4 long years of sleepy Joe Biden and the very corrupt, and it was the most corrupt administration, they got less than $1 trillion of new investment in that country. So think of this. 4 years, not 1 year, 4 years, less than $1 trillion invested. And it was going down. They would have had de-investment, it's called. In 1 year, so he had 4 years, less than one. In 1 year, my administration secured commitments of more than $19.2 trillion in new investment from all over the globe. And that's a record that's 5 times greater than any country in history. Think of that. You know, the sad part is, I say this to Dana because he understands. I say it to Fertitta. The brothers are smart too. What a beautiful families. Are they loaded? They're loaded. They own this hotel, you know. They own this beautiful hotel, which I'm sure is doing well because everything they have does well. And a guy like Phil Ruffin's here, one of the greatest gamblers in the world, but also one of the greatest businessmen in the world. He made a fortune here, but he made a fortune every place he goes. He just makes money. I don't know. He's a money machine. The great Phil Ruffin. And Alexandra, his much more incredible wife. I'm more impressed by her. But Phil has made a fortune no matter where he went. Everything he touches turns to gold. He's incredible. We have incredible people here. But right here in Nevada, General Motors and lithium, Americans are investing up to $1.6 billion to build the Thacker Pass mine. Many people in this audience are going to be working there, and you are working there. And Forge Industries and others are investing $150 million in manufacturing facilities in North Las Vegas. And we have, in just this small area, you have your governor here today, in just this small, who's running, and will you please win by a big number? Where's our governor? Where's our governor? He's doing a great job. You got to get him. He's in a re-election. I can't believe time flies so fast, Governor. Very importantly for the people of the state, with the help of our Republican majorities in Congress, last year I signed the great, big, beautiful bill giving you the largest tax cuts in American history. You got no tax on tips that Dana was talking about. So if you're a waiter, a waitress, a bartender, a bellhop, a caddy, I love caddies, a valet, a hotel worker, taxi driver in Las Vegas or anywhere else, anywhere, you pay zero taxes on your tipped income. You know, I was having dinner with a group of people, including Ruffin, and we were talking, a lot of people, smart people, and beautiful waitress came over. I'm not allowed to say that today. I'll say it anyway. She was beautiful. What can I say? She was beautiful. In my place, steak, good steak, by the way. So we're eating, and this beautiful young lady walks over, and I said, how you doing? Everything good? Sir, they're taxing me to death. I said, really? What are they taxing? They're taxing my tips. Sir, they should have no tax on tips. I said, say it again. Say those words again. Sir, they should have no tax on tips. I said, boy, that got me. I think that, Governor, I think that might have got me this massive victory that we had in this state. And I went out, and we had those people. See all those people back there, the fake news? And in the middle of my meal, I gathered them together right outside the door of the steakhouse. And I said, are you ready to go? Yes, sir, we're ready. The cameras. We will have no tax on tips. And it became an overnight sensation. That's how it happened, actually. That's how she was my consultant. She did a better job than, you hire these people, you pay them millions of dollars, they don't come up with crap. Takes a waitress from Las Vegas to give us some good ideas. And then we also gave you something that some of you are, especially if you're in the construction stuff that I love, no tax on overtime. Last week, I'm building this big military complexes, including a lot of different things, and some of the things I can't even talk about, although it's become very public, because like usual, everything I do, they get sued, but I win the suits. I think I've been sued more times than any human being in history. But it's unbelievable what's happening. It's a tremendous military complex. And for 150 years at the White House, we don't have a ballroom. We don't have a big space. You can seat like 80, 90 people. So we're building a ballroom that everybody's going to be the most beautiful ball. I don't care, Fertitta, what your ballroom is. Is this your ballroom? I'm telling you, Fertitta, that's going to be nicer. Much less. But this is very nice. I want to be nice. This is, but I'm building a, they wanted it for 150 years. And I was out and they're really moving along. We're ahead of schedule. And it was a Sunday morning. They should be in church, so I don't want to get them in trouble. But there were a lot of men working on Sunday. There were a lot of men working late into the night. They work until 12 in the evening. They go till 12 in the evening. And this one morning, I went over and gathered a group of about 150 people, guys, some women, good workers, great people. And I said, you got to love me because you're making all this overtime working on Saturdays and Sundays and late. And there's no tax on overtime. Did everybody vote for me? And they all said, yeah, I voted. No, you know what that is? A lot of people, the tax on overtime was so great they didn't even want to do it. Now they love doing it. There's a lot of work going on overtime. No tax on overtime. And then you maybe have the granddaddy of them all. No tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Right? And we made interest on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car's made in America. That's, you know, people that are, let's call middle income, successful, but they never had, like Fertitta, they never had the advantage, or Phil Ruffin, they never had the advantage of a thing called deductions, right? A lot of rich people live on the word deduction. They've never had it. We give, so you buy a car, you borrow money, and you're now allowed to deduct for income tax purposes. You're allowed to deduct the interest that you're paying on the loan. Nobody ever thought it. That was my baby. And it should, but only if the car's made here. If the car's made outside, we don't care about it. Yeah, we don't care. We don't want you to buy cars not made in it. We want to be made in America. Beautiful term. It's back. It's back. This past filing season, 440,000 tipped workers right here in Nevada saved an average of $10,000 on their taxes. Think of that. Just on the no tax. So that means every worker saved, this is put out by the government, check it out. I always say that because they always try and get me. They say, oh, it wasn't 10,000. It was 9,912. Think of it, every worker made $10,000 more money. That's all because of the fact that I said I was going to do it, and I got it done. We got it done. The Republican Party got it done. And the Democrats will terminate it if they ever take office. They will terminate that. They were able to do that. We can't let that happen. 150,000 Nevada workers saved an average of more than $3,000 thanks to the no tax on overtime. So that's 10,000, 3,000. And 500,000 Nevada seniors, I didn't know you had that many seniors here, paid $0 on their Social Security benefits thanks to no tax on Social Security. It's a lot of money. But while the Trump administration and our allies in Congress, the Republican Party, they've done a great job. That bill is the greatest bill. I think it's one of the most impactful bills ever. You know, and it was supposed to be 17 different bills. And they said, I don't think we can, these are lunatics we're dealing with, the Democrats. I said, I don't think we'll ever get that many. Let's put everything into one. That's how we call it. It's actually called the one big, but I call it the great big because I like that term better. I named it the one big, and then I said, why didn't I call it the great big? But I use it all the time, great big. But that was all the great big beautiful bill. Governor, nobody thought we were going to get that passed. Everything was put in there for 4 years. I mean, it's basically, and now we're asking for more because, you know, we're greedy. And we're asking for a lot of other things. A lot of other things are in the hopper. A lot of other good things, not bad things, good things for you. But in Congress, we're working every day to defend the American dream for you and your children. The radical left, the maniacs, they're trying to destroy it with the disaster known as not socialism, communism. It's communism. These are communists. And the polls were wrong again last night when they thought it would be a landslide victory for a hater of Jews and a hater of Israel. This This guy hates Jews. Somebody said, oh, that's a little strong. No, he hates Jews and he hates Israel. Abdul El-Sayed. You believe this? This could only happen to me. Abdul El-Sayed, lovely gentleman. He's a man of hate. And now he's going around saying, no, I love everybody. He doesn't love everybody. Put him in office. You're going to find out what he loves. He doesn't love Israel. He doesn't love Jewish people. He hates them. He hates them with a passion that burns in his heart, and there's not a frickin' thing he can do about it. There's not a thing he can do about it because he hates them. And in Michigan, it was really very close. There's press, the polls, and the polls by the press. Oftentimes, the press hires the polls. They want to have it a certain way, but the polls got it really wrong because it was supposed to be a blowaway, and he almost lost. But he's going to lose to our great candidate. We have a great candidate in Michigan. Great candidate. But the socialist candidate ran up big margins against the communist candidate in Detroit. And I was saying that probably it's corrupt. It's probably corrupt. I don't know who the hell they wanted. I couldn't care less. We do better. Actually, we do better against the communists, according to every poll. The poll says we do better against the communists. So he won, and so I think I'm happy. I put out a statement. Congratulations to the Republican Party. The communists want to take their ruinous and deadly ideology of misery and squalor to every state in America, but we're not going to let them. And I will say this, one of the things that I have seen with communism throughout the world, I see a lot of different places being president. I see a lot of results, too, a lot of bad results when you have the wrong people and the wrong ideology. But one of the things I see, and you see it here in the blue states run by Democrats, everything's filthy dirty all the time. The cities stink, they smell. The sidewalks are loaded with horrible stuff. I don't want to use the term because my wife will get she hates it when I use the term. I use it, but she doesn't love it. She hates it when I imitate no men and women's sports. She hates it when I do the weightlifting. She said, it's not presidential. I said, well, it may not be presidential, but I won the election in a landslide, so I don't know. Right? We won it. Ooh. Well, she's very elegant, Melania says hello to everybody, by the way. But she's very, very elegant. She did a movie. I think it's the #1 movie of the year. Can you believe? But she's very elegant. She hates, as an example, at the end, we're finished. There's a lot of love in the room. Look, what's not to be loved? We have great borders. Our military is the greatest in the world, the strongest. We inherited a terrible mess. I inherited a mess from Obama, and I inherited, frankly, I rebuilt the military. But a lot of our military was badly jeopardized by Sleepy Joe Biden. I mean, they gave everything. They gave so much away. $350 billion, I would say, is a lot of money. Even for Dana White, that's a lot of money, Gave away 350. I sell everything. They were willing to pay. It's the Europeans. They have plenty of money. They don't have a good military because they've relied on us too long. They can't. I told them you can't do that, NATO. But their military said, we will send you things, but you got to pay for them. They said, okay. Now, Biden could have said the same thing. He gave everything for free, and it really messed things up. But fortunately, we have it so strong, and we've been building like never before. And it's all made in America. It's all made. A lot of it's made right here. But on the communists, just listen to the official platform of the deranged communists. And these are the people running, and they're trying to run. It's a big danger to our country, whose agenda is now being championed by the Democrat members of the United States Congress. They have officially endorsed defunding the police, defunding the United States military, abolishing and giving up prisons. They do not want prisons because nobody deserves to be in prison, even a person that's killed 10 people. Abolishing ICE. They don't want ICE. ICE are among our greatest patriots. Remember that. And these guys, what they do, when they have to get Tren de Aragua from Venezuela. But now I love Venezuela. You know, I love it. We're doing great at Venezuela. We're taking a lot of oil from Venezuela, and we're getting along great with them. Billions and billions of barrels of oil is coming out of Venezuela. It's one of the most fertile places for oil in the world. And as you know, it was a 48-minute war, lasted 48 minutes. And we paid for the war with what we've taken out many, many, many times. Where have you heard that before? You haven't heard that before. It's the old-fashioned way, right? It's the old-fashioned way. To the victor belong the spoils, right? And we're doing the same thing, by the way, in the lovely Islamic Republic of Iran. We're knocking the hell out of it. Knocking the hell out. I'd rather make a deal because I don't want to kill people. I do not want to kill people. But at some point we were set for the biggest attack of any attack, and we've hit them very hard for the last few months. But we were all set for the biggest attack since World War II. And they called me and they said, please don't do it. Let's talk. And then they said, we never said that. You know what? The fake news knows they did say that, but we are talking. Let's see what happens. But they respect us. They respect us. It's been 47 years, but really it's been 50 years because they've been saying 47 for 3 years. It's been 50 years. And no other president has done what you should have done a long time ago, because Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Can't have it. But just last week, Kamala Harris called for eliminating the Electoral College. And she said she wants to pack the Supreme Court, and the number is 23 justices. We have 9. She wants Marxist judges who all stick together. You know, the Republican judges or justices don't stick together. They don't stick together. But these 3 people that they have, they're like glue. They never veer. And in many ways, I respect that. I must say, they're horrible for our country. It's too bad they're on. A couple of them just don't belong. I'd like to fire them. I'd fire them if I could. I'm just responding for the meeting. I'm just responding to them. They'll say, Trump wants to fire the judges. That'll be the... No, I'm just responding. I'm just responding. The man said, fire them, sir, fire them. The Communist platform also calls for legalizing heroin and fentanyl. And by the way, we have no fentanyl coming in by sea anymore, practically. None. Almost none. 97% down. Think of it. Coming by sea. They come by sea. They said, oh, this is so lovely out. They have their little boat loaded up with fentanyl, enough to kill 25,000 people a boat. That's what you have. Ruined families. So you don't feel as bad when you do what we did. But we hit them very hard. And we cut it. It was, you know, for years, people would go out. They'd have the Coast Guard, our great Coast Guard, go out, pull them over, bring them to court. The judge would look at them, let them go. They'd give them a little fine. They'd go back. They'd be on a boat the next day, the next night, doing the same thing. We hit them. I said, we're down 97.2%. 97.2. Actually, people are trying to find out who are the 3%, because they are the bravest human beings on earth, okay? Maybe they just don't watch television or read the newspapers. Thank you very much. Thank you. But the radical left wants to ban a thing called gasoline. Gasoline. We have 1,000 years of gasoline, and it's what people prefer. And, you know, I ended the electric mandate. I don't want to talk about it because Elon wasn't exactly thrilled with me, but I had to do it. We love Elon. But I ended because it said that within a very short period of time, like 2030, Everybody had to have an electric car, even though there was no way you could charge it. You ever see the signs? You're driving along in an electric car. They have a disease. You know, it's a disease. It's called, like, they get screwed up. They're driving, and they realize their battery's getting low, and they start thinking about it when it's 3/4 full. Okay, it loses a little bit. It said, where am I going to? And you're driving down the highway, and you'll see a sign, electric charging station with an arrow, 89 miles to the right. These people are crazy. And I like electric cars. You know, we sell 7% of our car, despite all of the taxes and all of the things that we gave away, 7%. But the thing is, we have unlimited. We have more gasoline, but we have more oil and gas than any country in the world. Now you add Venezuela to it, add that, and we have 60% of the world's oil and gas, including Venezuela. Think of that. What a great thing. By the way, we have a great relationship, I want to tell you, with Venezuela. They've been great. But the Communist platform calls for full amnesty and voting rights for 25 to 50 million illegal aliens. That's probably why they allowed them in, because they want them to vote. And actually, I won the Hispanic vote. Can you believe it? I won the Hispanic vote. So they may have misplayed that. They support allowing American military service members to be arrested, given show trials, and imprisoned by foreign globalist tribunals controlled by our enemies. They allow our soldiers to be arrested and tried in a foreign land and put in jail for the rest of that soldier's life. Doesn't happen anymore. And in Wisconsin, the communists even have a woman who said that the holiday of Thanksgiving should be immediately abolished, and the police only exist to, quote, uphold white supremacy, that the police are there for white person. Think of it. White supremacy. These people are dangerous, and frankly, they're lunatics. They're crazy, and we can't let them get into office. Communism is the greatest threat to our country in its history, including even World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. I think it's the greatest threat. I could be the greatest communist in history. I tell everybody here, would you like a free house? We'll take one from your neighbor. Would you like free rent? We'll take it from whoever. We'll take your building away from the landlord that makes 2%, and we'll run the building ourselves. What they don't say, and what Republicans should say, is that at the end of a year, you'll have nothing but death, squalor, poverty. You'll have a life of hell. And that's what happens every single time. You look at Venezuela, where it was such a rich country 20 years ago, 22 years ago, and it happened, and we've really helped them, and we're going to help them. But, you know, they're lucky because they're sitting on massive oil reserves, but we are going to help the people that we want to help. But every time this has happened, and you do that, you go through squalor, and add the word again, filth, crime, death, destruction, embarrassment. You lose your home, you lose your apartment, and that's where the communists will take us 100%. When I watch Abdul, he's full of shit. So, if you remember, during my State of the Union speech from a little while ago, I made a very strong statement. I said that America will never be a socialist country. And I was right. What I didn't say is what they're trying to do. They want to skip socialism. They want to go right down to the bottom of the barrel. That's communism. They want it to be a communist country. We're not letting them have it as a communist country, not even for a minute. Not even for a minute. Together we will defeat communism, socialism, and Marxism in America once and for all. It's defeated. It's going to go down. It always goes down, but sometimes it takes a lot of people with it. It takes too long. You got to nip it in the bud. The Democrat communists in Congress claim to stand for working people, but every single one voted against our tax cuts. They voted against securing the border. They wanted open borders. The Democrats voted against securing the border. They want to raise your taxes to levels that you've never had to pay before. Remember this. They want to raise your taxes. You know, all my life I've been watching politics, and I never knew I'd be doing this. Who the hell ever thought I'd be doing it? But all my life I've been watching, and every politician, Democrat, Republican, they always said, we will cut your taxes, even if they didn't have any intention of doing it. They always say it. You know, I said, that guy is lying. He's not telling the truth. But I'd watch, we will cut your tax. These guys say we will raise your tax. They say we're going to raise your taxes. I never heard of anything. And then they actually get votes. The whole thing is crazy. But they voted against no tax on tips. They voted against no tax on overtime. They